Download the app on your Android, iPhone. Also, watch us on Roku and Amazon and Apple TV. Today, I have a very exciting guest. We're going to talk about the comic book industry, films, and professional wrestling, and the politics of it. I have my guest here, Kevin Jaden Meggett. How are you, Kevin?
Fine, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you also. He has a wonderful book called Night Watcher. And he has his own company, which is called New Generation Comics, which is independent. And I wanted to ask him, first and foremost, give me a little bit of background. What made you become interested in comic books in this industry?
Well, ever since I was young, I like comic books like DC, Marvel.
Okay.
So always growing up, I would like to write my own stories.
Okay.
So one day, me and my friend Chris, the person that created WizKid.
Okay, that's this one, right?
Yes, that's that one.
Yeah, this is WizKid.
We
Okay.
were sitting in class, in our networking class,
Mm-hmm.
and I was writing a story, and he was like, "Oh, you write stories too?" And we decided to come together and make a comic book.
All right. Okay. So you have two of them. You have Night Watcher,
Yes.
and you have WizKid. So one is yours, and the other
His.
is his. Okay.
Yes.
And what is Night Watcher about?
Night Watcher is about this kid from the Bronx who decides to go down the wrong path, which leads him to conflicts later on in his life.
Okay.
So he's trying to resolve that and also find himself.
Oh wow. And do you know what WizKid is about?
Yes, WizKid's about this, I would say, nerd. He makes inventions, and because of the cause of him making an invention, he draws a lot of attraction towards himself.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, so it sounds like it's loosely based off of your lives. Is that true? Is that correct?
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay. I like that.
It's more realistic fiction.
Realistic fiction. I like that. And have you sold any so far?
Yes, we sold actually a lot.
Oh wow. Nice. So I wanted to jump right into it. A little background on you. I was watching Justice League the other day. I saw the real the first Justice League in the movie theater, and then they came out with this another 4-hour Justice League called the Snyder Cut, and it was really good. It was way different than what the movie had portrayed, and I started hearing on the internet how much racism was on the Snyder Cut as opposed to the Justice League that was in the movie theaters. You want to talk on that? You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the original movie that came out, I believe, in 2017.
Yes, it did.
That was made and directed by Josh Whedon. So
Okay.
Zack Snyder, the original director, he had lost his daughter.
Oh wow.
So he ended up dropping the project, and they put Josh Whedon in charge of it.
Okay.
And then throughout that whole thing, he cut major parts of the movie, like of the original Zack Snyder vision of the movie, and added in his own stuff.
Okay.
So if you watch the first movie, Cyborg, the black character, the
Yes.
cybernetic one,
Yes.
he was actually a main focal point of the original movie, but in the Josh Whedon version,
They
they
kind of weeded him out, like
Yeah.
he was a sidekick, or something like that.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
he was,
Yeah. They made him like, oh wow, it's like, okay, yeah, and Cyborg. That's how I looked at the first one compared to the second one compared to the first one. The first one, they actually did a lot of background on his life and so forth and so on, and come to find out, he was really a actual major influence in Justice League, if anyone knows that. So why did he do that?
Josh Whedon.
Yes.
From what was coming out in the news, he was like, nobody wants to see an angry black man as the main character of a movie.
I believe that. Oh wow, that is amazing. So you're in this comic book industry, right?
Yes.
And so you're the two biggest people that monopolize this industry is DC and Marvel,
Yes.
of course. Which we watch them both, or both of them all the time. How hard or how easy do you think it is to get your workout? Is there a first of all, is there a market for it? And two, do you think the more you perpetuate itself that you'll become stifled?
So currently, right now, how we go by marketing, we
Okay.
do Kickstarter, Instagram. We're about to start doing like Comic Cons, Wiz Cons, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I say it's harder for people in the industry, like indie comics in
Right.
general, to produce their work and bring it to an um, overall crowd base,
Okay.
because people are just so used to Batman, Iron Man, Superman, and all the other mainstream heroes.
Right.
So when you come up with something new and organic,
Right.
people are kind of hesitant upon getting into something they don't really know about.
That's true. And you know, what's funny, the irony is, I don't know how long has DC, or I know DC was the first comic book that came out, and Marvel came behind it. The two borrowed from each other historically,
Hmm.
you know. So you know, like even with like Iron Man and Batman, basically they're the same character. You know what I mean? They're billionaire or gazillionaire, that rely not on a super strength, but their intellect, their intelligence is their superpower. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, they had such a long history and a long monopoly on this industry that sometimes I wonder if it is actually fair for someone like yourself and your partner Chris to actually come out and put forth this effort. There should be something where you should be able to balance the scales, and what I mean by that, they should actually put some type of resource or benefit aside so that you could have people that could compete with the monopoly. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yes, I totally agree
Yeah.
with that.
So I mean, the artwork on this is great. The storyline is really good. But did you know, like, a lot of these comics from Marvel and DC were actually taken from African deities?
Yes, I actually watched it in colors,
Okay.
and
All right. Shout out to you.
thank you.
Knowing about hidden colors. Okay. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed. Go ahead.
So I found out that Superman, he was basically taken from history, like even from his symbol, like it's a upside down pyramid.
That's right. That's right. And the S is really a snake when you turn it upside down.
Yes,
And then his name is
Kal-El.
Kal-El, which is El is a I believe a Jewish name. So and he gets his power from the sun. So you know, only people that could bear sun is melanated people, some type of melanin. So you know, they kind of took that they kind of plagiarized that whole thing from, I would say, Kemet, or what we now call Egypt. But even Wonder Woman, the first story of Wonder Woman happened to be, oh man, I can't think of the country, but the French went into an African country, and these women pushed the French out of there. These colonizers out of there. I mean, they beat the beats off of them. They beat the brakes off of them. And then, you know, they couldn't say they lost to all of these women. You know what I mean? So they had to
came up with
they
like
came
a
up,
myth.
yeah, they make it, the myth was these women were 6'9" and they had super strength, and that was the
Argument.
it wasn't, I wouldn't say the
Well,
argument, that was the creation of Wonder Woman. Then later on down the line, she came to be like what we call an Amazon. She was an Amazon, but she was never in the Amazon jungle. That was the origin of it. And let me see who else. There's Thor.
Thor.
Yeah, Thor was I believe Shangu, which is an African deity, a hammer and like. So it's funny because if you don't know your history, folks would take your history and repackage it and hand it back to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, but it's really your history. So our history is very amazing, and you know, I would like to see a little balance where, because I don't think no original could ever be better than a copy. I mean, no copy could ever be better than the original. The original's got to be better than the copy. So the origin of these stories are, why can't we make
Our own.
our own? You know what I mean? I mean, we got Black Lightning, we got Static Shock, we got, that's about it that I can think of.
War
Well,
Machine.
War Machine. Okay, yeah. So I mean, but you could really almost count them on one hand, and that's the disparaging part, and what
The industry.
of the industry. So what they tend to do is they'll take someone like Flash and make him black, or they'll take Superman now, which I think they're getting ready to do. You heard about that?
Yes. I heard that they were taking Henry Cavill,
Okay.
the original Superman from the movies, and they're getting rid of him and making him black instead of using like the actual black Superman called Zod and
Oh wow,
putting him in the movies.
that's amazing because I didn't know there was another black Superman.
Yeah, I
Called
think
Zod.
he's a president, I believe, also.
Oh wow, okay. And why do you think that? Who's doing that, and why do you think that's happening?
I think it's off of going back to the Snyder Cut because the Snyder Cut was so successful and people realized what Josh Whedon did
Mhm.
and took out all the POC characters
Okay.
from it. Because in the movie, Cyborg was big.
Sure.
They had Ryan Choi, who was the Atom. They had so much characters from different backgrounds in the original one to where Warner Brothers themselves,
Mhm.
they had to find a scapegoat or to make themselves look as though they're not the villain. So now they're trying to push more black characters or POC characters upon us.
So let me ask you a question. The actor that plays Cyborg, has he ever spoken out against racism on the set?
Yes, Ray Fisher, he definitely has, and because he was speaking about what was happening, the new Flash movie that's getting ready to come out, he's like a major part of the movie, and they cut him out, like they took him out of the whole project in general.
That is awful. It's not surprising, but it's awful. Wow. And I heard the actress that played Wonder Woman was also experiencing some sexism. Is that true?
Yes, there was a scene in the original one where Flash fell on top of her.
Yes,
a
I remember
sexual
that.
window.
It was right.
And she didn't want to do that scene. And Josh
I've
Whedon,
seen that scene before somewhere. I can't think of where.
it was in Avengers also, Age of Ultron. It's by
That's right.
It's literally the same person that did Justice League.
Wow. So that's his little curve. Huh? That's his
Yeah,
little
like
trademark
yeah,
having sexual suggestions, huh?
yes, and because all of that,
She
she
felt
didn't.
uncomfortable doing it?
Yes, so
Was she boisterous in it?
yeah, she tried to voice herself, but he was like, "Oh, if you don't do the scene, I'm gonna make the next Wonder Woman, which was Wonder Woman 1988. That was being directed by I don't remember the director's name,
Okay.
but he was like, I'll make it a living
Nightmare?
nightmare for you because he was like, I'll ruin that movie and your character, just like how I ruined Zack Snyder's vision in Justice League."
Oh wow. And here we are in 2021 and we still facing these kind of things. I mean, I wish Hollywood get themselves together, but bigger than that, I really do wish that we start taking more ownership. I think the problem is a lack of ownership and thereof. So I wish we would have more ownership where we could make our own movies. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're locked out, and I really do wish you the best in this endeavor. But it's gonna be it's like ice skating uphill. It's not impossible. It's hard because you're already behind the 8 ball because DC and Marvel has been around, I believe,
For years.
since the 50s or something like that. So, 1950 something to now, that's a long time. So they were able to monopolize on it, and you just got to do things different, but you can because you have the internet, you have social media, and that's the beauty part. You have Facebook, which I believe that we're streaming live from right now. But these things are they can actually be used as tools in what you're doing. So you also do professional wrestling, huh?
Yes, I just started last month ago.
Okay, where do you do that?
I do it in Queens for House of Glory.
Really?
Yes.
House of Glory is a big name.
Yes.
Okay, shout out to House of Glory. So what made you become interested in wrestling?
Well, going back to when I was a kid, I always did wrestling like with my cousin.
Okay.
So me and him would be in our house on the bed wrestling.
Like every typical family, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you felt like you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I wanted to at least try and experience it to see if I actually really want to take it as from a passion to a career.
Okay, and so you actually went down there and made a mark, huh?
Yeah.
Made that first step.
I felt as though the first class was more like a hazing to
Right.
see, to pick out the weak from the tough.
Right. And you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So you're a little bit you tough, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so who's your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler, his name's Alex Shelley.
Alex Shelley? Okay.
Yeah.
See, when we talk wrestling, all I know is like WWF, which later became WWE. And that's what I watched, growing up. And then you had the WCW and things like that. Started
Like the Stone Cold
yeah,
era.
Stone Cold. That was my era. The Bret that hit me hard. I could even go further back, like Chief J. Strumbo and the Junkyard Dog, who influenced so many people. But I mean, as I got older, I saw the stereotypes as it pertained to black people and foundational black Americans in wrestling. Like the Junkyard Dog. I don't know if you've ever watched. There's a YouTube documentary on him and he suffered a lot of racism in the WWF, which later became the WWE. And the racism, I believe Jesse the Body Ventura, who went on to become governor, had made a statement saying his theme song was Queen, Another One Bites the Dust. And he had this little dance that everyone loved, like he was really a crowd favorite. I believe he's in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. But he said that the Junkyard Dog looked like he was shucking and jiving when he came into the ring, and when he talked, it sounded like he had a mouthful of grits, And I mean, I just thought that the racism in the WWE was very blatant and very on the surface, because you couldn't tell me that the owners, Vince McMahon, didn't know there was racist undertones when you had things like the Battle Royal. Have you ever seen a Battle Royal on the WWE?
Yes.
You know the history of the Battle Royal?
No.
Okay. So back during slavery, right? Battle Royals were basically young kids, we'll say about 5, 6 years old, 5, 6, 7 years old. They would tie their hand, one hand behind their back, and they would blindfold them and put one boxing glove on them, and they would let them punch each other out. And the last person that was standing got maybe a little penance, a little reward to bring home some money or something for their family. That's the history of that. And so when Vince McMahon called something a battle royal, I know and he knows the origin of where it came from, and it was racist. So I think as I started to become more enlightened and more aware of certain things, I kind of just pushed away and pulled away from certain things, And I don't know what their image is now, but clearly it took them almost forever to have a black world champion in the WWE. It took them a very, very, very long time. And shame on them. But then shame on us because we expect to penetrate someone else's project when we should be out there building our own. And so when you tell me you're building your own comic book and you're wrestling, I'm sure your father must be really proud of you. So I'm sure he schooled you enough to know that you're going to do this for yourself and not for anyone else. So ownership of anything of yours is no one could ever take away ownership from it. It's something that you own. So where do you see all of this going now? Like you got the comics, you got the wrestling going on, the professional wrestling comics. You ever thought about perhaps
Combining them and
marketing one off of the other?
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could, because you write your own comics. I see it on it. Maybe you could take your experience even from school and wrestling and put it in some of your work.
Yes. I thought
That's what
about
you're intending
like
to do?
yeah, I thought about like if I make it to that point,
Okay.
I could take, let's say, how the character dresses
Right.
and use that as my ring gear,
Okay.
or make that my character for wrestling in a
Okay.
sense. Or I could just write about wrestling in my books, have a character based off of wrestling, and make a story from there.
Storyline, right? Because even wrestling has storylines, and I mean, if you could sit down and discipline yourself and write a comic book, which is not easy, you know, you could sit down and discipline yourself and write storylines for wrestling too.
Yes.
So a writer is a writer, is a writer. You know what I mean? So if you could write, the thing is write. So you could also write storylines.
Yes.
What else do you like? Video games?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you're a gamer.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me some of the games you play.
Right now I play For Honor, Fortnite,
Okay.
just like the regular games.
Okay. Now I'm getting ready to show you how you entwine writing. So you know those games have storylines too, right?
Yes.
And writing is writing is writing. So you can also write storylines for games. The sky's the limit. You know, you just got to be able to know what path you want to go, but you also have to be able to not be afraid to challenge the status quo. And what I mean by that is that a lot of these comic book industries, the heads, the gatekeepers, the people that hold the keys for these comic books,
Yes.
reach out to them with your project. Write a letter. Not to be picked up, but just to be identified. Comic-Con, I'm sure, costs a handsome ransom. I mean, I'm not saying just go, but I mean just to actually be part of it.
Yeah.
It probably costs so much money. And I think the problem is equity. You know, equity and having access to, that's what equity is. Having access to. And having access to the things that the bigger comic companies have should be your number one priority. But you shouldn't be afraid to call it out. Because a pebble in your shoe after a minute of rattling around will begin to annoy you. Sometimes you have to agitate the system. And, you know, you know me better than anyone, so you know I go on these big decompressions about the system of white supremacy.
Yeah.
It also exists in the comic book industry because a lot of these creators just literally locked other people out, locked out black people and what we would call people of color out of that industry, and you got to find a way to drill yourself into it.
Like even from, Black Lightning, right?
Right.
So in the comic books right now, they're trying to put him and a character called Katana together. Mm-hmm. And the creator of Black Lightning was like, no, that's not his significant other because he's a black creator and he made the character to be specifically with a black woman.
Right. And
his children. So he's going against what DC and everybody's doing right now.
Oh, wow.
Upon representation of his character.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy. It's crazy because the movie Black Panther.
Yes.
Do you know where the storyline for Black Panther came from?
No.
So back in World War II, there was a black army platoon named Black Panthers that went in and liberated Jews out of concentration camps. They were called the Black Panthers. And that's kind of where
the character came.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything has a connection. Everything is connected to something. You know, they did so much work in World War II, and they didn't get the recognition from it. And so they created Black Panther, but it was loosely from that. You know? Another thing, Xavier, Professor Charles Xavier
Yeah.
from X-Men,
Hmm.
and Eric Magneto,
Yeah.
and this came from Stan Lee personally. Stan Lee said he got the idea from um, Professor X was Martin Luther King and Magneto was Malcolm X. And so when you look at it now, you're like, wait a minute, yeah, I can see it because one is very
the pacifist,
right, he's very passive,
Malcolm X,
right, and Magneto's like, no, we ain't changing for you. You better get with the program.
It's with us or
Right,
nothing.
right. So but it's weird how you know how much of our lives, and I'm talking about how much of foundational Black American lives has influenced just about everything. But and the information's right in front of your face, but they don't allow you to see it and understand it. And see, I have a filter, so I'm able to actually understand it. And I hope maybe I said something that can help you writing a comic, down the line. So your next comic is coming out. You have a character in there based off behind your grandfather. Is that correct?
Yes. So my grandfather, he recently passed away. So I wanted to make a tribute for him in my next comic book. It's called Koro. It's about an Asian man who has a family that's involved in like the mafia.
Okay.
So things end up going wrong for him, which leads him to having memory loss.
Oh wow.
So he's just trying to find himself throughout the story.
Wow. I can remember I was in Queens, like in Flushing, Queens, and that's like a heavily Asian community, and I was like, wow, if you ever needed any type of references, you could go. Yeah, I mean, you could always go to Chinatown, but you can also go to Flushing, Queens because it's just it's an Asian community, and it's weird because I can't find any Black communities like Asian communities. You have Italian communities. I can't really. I don't think Skid Row counts as having a Black community. So, ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is you're doing good work. You're an outstanding kid, and you've never been in trouble. And I'm sorry that society don't have outlets for people like yourself that have done the right thing historically. Usually, when you get resources and tangibles, you have to be either formerly incarcerated or just messed up. But there's no incentive for the person that has done the right thing, and you've done the right thing. Do you listen to music?
Yes.
What type of music you listen to?
Rap.
Okay.
R&B.
R&B?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's your favorite rapper?
Favorite rapper? My sister.
Okay. Shout out to your sister. You want to say what's her name?
Yeah, her name is Nene Ali.
Okay. Shout out to Nene Ali. All right. And your favorite R&B song?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I just listen.
Just listen to what's hot?
Yeah.
Okay, what's popular? So, when is you said the third one is coming out soon.
Yes.
How much are these comic books going for?
So, we have Night Watcher, like the original art.
Right.
Which is that cover right there.
Okay.
Goes for
so everyone can see it.
Goes for $6.
Okay.
Because that's like the normal rate for a comic.
Okay.
It has 22 pages.
$6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Back then it was like 99 cents.
Let me tell you a story. When I was a little boy, right? My great grandmother, God bless her soul, she used to work for one of the Kennedys, right? A cousin or something. And she would when we would go to visit her in Harlem, we would go and underneath her bed were a whole bunch of old comic books, like mostly DC. They were like 10-cent, 12-cent comic books, Superman, and I, not me not knowing the value of it. You know what I mean? I read it, and I couldn't tell you what I did with mine, but my cousin Crystal, I'm sure she still has all of hers. You know, she used to have this comic book called Archie. So she used to like the Archie comic books as well. But you know, there were a lot of old comic books. Right? So I guess he was a comic book collector, and he gave it to her, and she gave it to us. And you know, you just brought back a lot of memories. When, you know,
and believe it or not, those comic books probably cost a lot of money now.
Yeah, I wish I would have known. If I would have known then what I knew now, I probably still have them. We should have had you then. You know. Okay, so what were you gonna say?
That's $6. We have a.
This is $6.
Yes.
And then you said you have another one for $8.
Yes, $8. That's a variant cover. So instead of it being that artwork, it's a different type of artwork for the cover. And then we have digital, which is $4.
And how can someone get a digital copy of it?
A digital copy. Right now we sell it on Instagram.
Okay.
Because.
You want to tell everyone what your IG handle is?
Yes, the IG is New Gen Comics on Instagram.
New Gen Comics?
Yes.
Okay. Gen.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So, now, speaking of Black Lightning, they recasted Jennifer. How did you feel about that?
I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me because how the story is going, and it's his final season. They could add how many episodes she was slated for to appear in. They could have just say, oh, she graduated and went to college, instead of recasting her.
Right.
Because maybe budget, maybe scheduling issues, whatever it was, it just seemed weird to me.
But what did she ever come out and say anything about it?
I know before then she was posting on Instagram, like on the live Instagram stories.
Because I like Black Lightning. That's like, and I mean, this is just me. I don't feel any way. I like, obviously I like the old Jennifer, and the new Jennifer's all right with me too. But you know, but a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people stopped watching it because of it. So, I find a lot of these TV shows are not true to the comic itself anyway.
Yeah, because like even with The Flash, originally in the comics, Iris West was white.
Right.
And her grandkids were white.
Right.
So they changed Wally West, which is Kid Flash, into a black character, but them making him a black character, they also introduced the new Wally West into the comic books, which was kind of based off of the TV show.
You know, another thing you could do too is find out some of the people that's writing these comics. Do you have a what is that called? It's not an IG. It's for professionals. I can't think of the name because I don't have it. But I am a professional. Professionally lost my train of thought, but I'm thinking, what is the name of that? The profile just for business. Okay.
Is it like LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, thank you. I knew you did it. So, do you have that account?
No, I don't have it.
I don't either. I think I need to create one. I think you need to too. And you need to find out all of the DC and Marvel people that interest you. Look at the writers and get LinkedIn.
What I was trying to do was get an internship.
Okay.
For like DC or Marvel.
All right. Well, talk to the camera. Someone from DC or Marvel might be listening to you right now.
I was trying to get internship for DC or Marvel just so I could learn the ins and outs and improve myself as a writer myself.
Okay.
And maybe possibly going on to write some of my favorite characters.
Okay. And you come from, I mean, writing's in your blood. Your godfather's a writer.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to
amazing book.
Derek Bonner, who wrote Havoc and Mayhem, yeah, and Major Havoc, yeah. So you could also go to him and ask him for advice as well. I'm gonna probably bring him on the show one day because I want to do, and I would love to bring you back. I want to do this is probably going to be down the line, but I would love to do a segment called Black Authors Matter because I don't think they get the same, and this is kind of really why I brought you on the show. They don't get the same access towards equality with their craft as their white counterparts. So a lot of people, because we are seen all over the world, so a lot of people don't really know this about the struggles and the pain and the hardships that we endure here in America because they don't get alternative to news. So the news that they get is usually kind of flawed. Like it's never really 100% what it is. We went through I would like to say 3 types of slavery here in America, and we're still in the last one. So the first slavery was actual chattel slavery, where we built the country by scratch. The second would be Jim Crow, and those laws were put there so that we couldn't prosper. And we still get the brunt end of not being able to prosper because a lot of those laws have never been expunged. And then lastly, the last one is civil rights. And I say that because it's really helped everyone but the people that it was supposed to have been written for. But even with that said, it should never deter you from persevering and pushing through as a writer, as an entrepreneur. Dream it until it becomes your reality. That's what you have to do. So when does House of Glory, do they have actual events? Is it a closed door, or is it something that people, the general public, could go to?
They do have house events.
They do?
You could find it on their matches on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't know currently right as now because of the whole
Corona COVID thing,
yes.
right? But I think that's coming even close to a halt. And I don't think it's because out of safety. I think it's they're losing money, and they're losing at an extremely large rate. But I mean, I have other reserved issues about COVID, but that's for another show for another time.
Yeah.
But you say they have matches on YouTube. I could find them.
Yes.
Okay. I can't wait to see you actually matching up. And how many people are in your class?
There's a lot. I would probably say about maybe 20,
Wow.
around the 20s.
Wow. Okay. So, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we could also look into. Is it your company? You're the CEO. You have a legitimate company.
Yes.
You registered your company.
Yes.
It's legit.
Yes. We got an EIN and everything.
You have the EIN and everything. You ever thought about getting a PPP loan?
A PPP? No, I never thought about it.
You should, because you're actually probably starving with a loaf of bread underneath your arm. And newsflash, you deserve it. You deserve it because you have a legitimate business. There's been a lot of mismanagement, a lot of fraud with the PPP loan, but you have a legit business, and you have employees. So yeah, you should go for it, and so that you could crank out better material or more material.
Yeah, because
I did read it, and it is good.
Because both of these books, I think each costs about $1,000 just to make.
Wow.
And that's not even because usually comic books would go out to do lettering,
right?
But I do the lettering myself.
So wow.
Yeah, so it would probably be even more.
More if you had to outsource everything.
Yes, because both of these books are 22 pages.
And who taught you how to do the lettering?
I taught myself.
Oh wow. I guess you could teach yourself anything on YouTube and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Wow. Okay. And you mind if I open this?
Yeah.
Thank you. Just want to see. this is amazing. We need to show the viewers. Amazing. And we need to get some advertising in here.
Yes.
Okay. So people can advertise with you?
Yes, people can.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll pull a Kap or No Kap advertisement out on Millennial TV 24. Maybe I'll pull out some advertising. This is amazing. And you said the sales are doing actually good?
Yes, we actually made more than what we put in for both of the books.
That's great. And so we covered the wrestling. We covered your gaming. So do you have the new PlayStation?
Yes, I do.
And did you get it when it first came out?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
I actually knew someone who worked in like Walmart, and he ended up holding one for me.
Is it easier to get them now?
From what I heard, no.
Still not easy?
No. Like, you're lucky to even find a store that's selling them as of right now.
Do you plan on actually taking? You should actually maybe take some courses and learn how to do video games as well.
Yes, we actually wanted to try to make a video game like a
or at least
fighting
an
game.
app.
Yeah, we wanted to make like a fighting game for the characters.
And by the way, if y'all have not downloaded our app on Millennium TV, please do so. Little shameless plug. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I digress.
So we wanted to do a fighting game. So me, my friend Christian, and our other friend Brandon, they're both really good at fighting games compared to me. So they take what they like from different games and they want to implement it in our own. So right now they're just building down how it would operate and how people will learn.
Okay. So, I mean, I wish you guys luck. Anything before we wrap up? Is there anything else that you want to tell the viewers? Again, where can they find you at?
They can find us on Instagram at New Gen Comics.
New Gen Comics.
Right now, currently, we have Night Watcher issue 1 out, and we have WizKid out, and we're working for next month to release Koro issue number 1.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for being a decent human being and crushing all of the stereotypes of what we are portrayed as. So I want to really thank you for that. This is Kevin C. Meggett. This is Kap or No Kap on Millennial TV 24. Download the app on your Android, your iPhone. Also, watch us on Roku, Amazon, and Apple TV. Thank you so much, and you have a great evening.